Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we have another weird project to start off with. We're looking at some pictures of the cockpit I finished from this Airfix Hawker Sea Fury kit. This is another project that I started before I decided I wanted to record it. So some of the parts are already done and further in the process than you would normally see in a video like this. There might be a few more projects like this coming up, I'm not quite sure, but I'll try to start from the beginning of every project from now on. So I just saw the pictures of the cockpit I did, and I had a Edward photo etch set painted, pre-painted already, and it turned out quite nice. I'm really happy with it. So here we have the body of the plane. It's almost completely built already. We're now just putting on some of the flaps. I think they're called ailerons. Not quite sure, but I think that might be. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure these are called ailerons. So yeah, we're just setting these and preparing them to put them on the kit. You might see that little masking tapes flap hanging there. I don't know what you want to call it, but that's some thin copper wire covered up to prevent it from breaking. Because I did install some small LEDs in the wingtips. The LEDs did work in the end, but the wire did snap off as well, and I couldn't fix it, and I just gave up. So next time I want to work with some LEDs, I either use some thicker wire or be more careful about it, because the wire just snapped and it wasn't usable anymore. So now we're moving on to the canopy. I'm using the DSPIA sanding sticks to clear it, and then I'm masking off the inside of the cockpit. Again, a bit of a weird project in the way I filmed it. I was already halfway through building the entire main body before I decided that I wanted to start recording it. So some of the parts are left out, and also I had a lot of things that I'm just building, and I'm not looking at the camera where everything is, and I'm just building things off screen. And it isn't working really well, and I try to take better care of that in future projects, but still sometimes things just happen outside of frame, so some steps are left out. But I'll try to explain most things. So here I am using a Tamiya enamel black paint, because enamel paint with a brush is pretty glossy, and I'm going over that eventually with a silver paint to make the wing lights more reflective or more bright in a way, because in those wingtips there is a LED, but like I said, things broke. I forgot to film a lot of things within the frame. Didn't work out. But we're now moving on to the priming stage. I am using a mr.hobby Surfacer 1500 black, thinned down to approximately 1:1.5. One part paint to 1.5 part thinner. And I just take an entire 40 milliliter bottle, put it into a 100 milliliter bottle, and then just fill it up with thinner. So just doing that here. We're priming the entire plane black. I'm going for a black base modeling effect, so we'll go over this eventually with a white paint and create some modeling. So here we are starting on the model paint effect. It's just a technique you use to appreciate basically the paint, like the main color that's gonna go on top, and this creates a bit of a stressed and worn paint effect on the final layer, and it looks really cool when done right. If you go over it too thickly with the main paint, it's gonna disappear for the most part. It will come back a little bit once you put over the flat coat, so don't be too discouraged when it doesn't look right with the gloss coat on it. But it does disappear for a little bit. So here we see the whole plane done. Is just go over the panel line, or over the main panels, leave the panel lines black to create a pre-shading panel line effect as well. So now once the entire plane is done, we're going over it with a eggshell like paint. I'll put the paint name on screen. I forgot it, but I'll put it on screen with every paint color I use. It's the I don't think Airfix gives you the Mr.color paint numbers in the manual, but I just looked on forums for the most accurate paint in the mr.hobby line, and I think this was it. So here you can see we're going over it in a few thin coats. I think I did 3 of them before moving on to the other side of the wing. This way you do cover the model enough to have the color, but still leave the pre-shading effect come through, which is the whole point of the effect. If you go over too thick, you hide it too much, and there's no point in even doing it to begin with. So here you see me doing the third layer, and if you look carefully, you can still see it shine through a bit. But then in the later pictures, you'll probably see it more clearly if I didn't mess it up. Again, I think I started this project over a year ago now. I forgot most of the things I did with it, but it turned out pretty great, and I'm quite happy with the result. But here again, you see me going over the right wing, and then the entire bottom side of the plane. Now, with an effect like this, you don't want your paint to be too thick, because then, like I said, you cover the entire thing up and the effect is gone. So when you want to thin down your paint quite a bit more than you usually would for like a normal coat, and then lower your air pressure a bit and just go over it in thin layers. So don't stay on one spot too long, just keep moving the airbrush, and then you'll quite nicely cover the entire plane while still keeping the effect. And it's a bit more work than a normal, just like a thick normal coverage coat. But this also makes it so that you don't necessarily have to go in post shading. Some people still do post shading even with this pre-shading technique, especially when you want to post shade things like dirt and grime. But I usually don't. I just keep it with post pre-shading, and I'm happy with that. And here I'm finishing up the cowl, the engine cowl, and just the upper side of this airframe. It's a two-tone, I think it's like an eggshell white with a dark sea gray too from Mr.color. Again, I'll put the paints on screen for you guys so you know what I'm using. Thinning ratios for most of my Mr.color paints are 1 to 1.5. Maybe sometimes I go thinner, like a 1.12. It depends on the pigment in the paint if it needs it. And here I'm masking off the separation between the two lines, because I'm now going to spray over the dark sea gray. You saw me use a ruler in the beginning of this clip. I have no clue what I did with it, why I did it. I'm completely lost on why I did it, because I don't even think this line is straight to begin with. But yeah, I used a ruler for some reason. I don't know why. I just did. And the line comes out great. It's good separation. It's well done. I just don't know why I used a ruler. Like I said, once it's masked off, we're going over the upper side of the plane and fuselage with a dark sea gray too, I think, from Mr.color. I think I've read on forums that this is the best representation you can get from the Mr.color line for this specific color. So I'm using that here. Be careful with the pre-shading technique that when you are using a darker color like a dark green or a dark blue, it covers way easier than a color like the eggshell green or white. I think it's a green actually. So be careful, do fewer coats, do thinner coats, because you far more easily cover up the white and remove the entire effect. As a result, I think I'm doing here like maybe 2 coats, and then I look at it and I'm unsure and I do another coat and I mess it up probably, but I think I did 2 coats of it. And like I said, it's a bit hard to see on screen now, also because my camera doesn't focus. I'm far within the minimal focus distance, so it's picking it up every now and then when I move out of it, but it's not really focusing well. But I don't think you can see it here, but you should be able to see in the final pictures definitely that the effect is still visible and looks quite nice. I'm pretty happy with it. It takes more time, but I do like it. Now here you see this metal part. I forgot to film that probably. I don't have the footage of it anymore, so I don't know what I did there. Sometimes I just forget to press record. But this is also one of the parts you just mask off, and I use the AK Extreme Metals line. I'm pretty sure this is aluminium that I used. And here I'm going over the exhaust pipes with a brass copper like paint with a small brush. Here I'm starting on the decals of the kit, which means I've also done a gloss coat underneath. That's a Mr.color GX113 UV gloss. I'm pretty sure it's either 113 or 114. One of those is flat, one of those is gloss. I think it's 113. Even though these are Cartograph decals and are presumably one of the best decal manufacturers out there, I still had a hard time with some of the decals too. Especially, they went on easy and they're quite easy to work with, but when it comes to conforming them to the surface and getting them into the panel lines and over rivets and stuff like that, I still have a hard time with it. I'm still not quite sure on how to use softener. I'm pretty sure you just have to apply it like 3 times, let it soak in, press it down. And I did my best. It turned out quite nice in a few panels, especially with some rivets on the end, on the back, on the fuselage part here, which you will see in a bit. It turned out quite nice, but sometimes they just break. And I did have a lot of silvering, especially on the numbers on the rear fuselage and the wing decal, which no inks, the final layer. I don't know what to call it. So I did have a lot of silvering on some of the letters, which is quite unfortunate, but I just couldn't get it away even with like 5 coats of softener. It just didn't work. So once the main fuselage is done, we start on some of the later sub-assemblies here. I'm starting to work on, which I'm pretty sure is the rear landing gear. I'm just cutting off the nubs with a DSPIA STA 3.0 single-bladed nipper, which is great. It's really good for the money. Single-bladed nipper, like 95% of the quality you get for a god hand for like half the price, maybe 2/3 of the price. So yeah, that's great. Here you see the LED wiring, which I say again, it breaks, it disappears, it's not there in the final project. One side didn't work and broke, and then I just took the other side out because there was no point in leaving it there. It didn't look good, it didn't work. It's fun, and when it worked, it looked really good, and I really don't want to do it again in another plane and get it to work properly. But in this one, it just didn't work out. It broke, and I'm quite done with it. So I just took it out, and I was like, you know what? It looks great without it. I don't care anymore. And here you saw me press in the landing gear. It's quite a snug fit. It has some slots you put it into. You kind of have to push quite hard if you don't mask off the parts you put in. So maybe do that, but it worked. And here is the final plane in poor lighting. And here I'm going to put on the fuel tank. I think this is the fuel tank. On the other side there's I think it's a radar or a thermal camera, one of the two. One side is a tank, the other side is a thermal camera. And then I move on to some ornaments. I think this is a rocket system. I'm not quite sure. I'm not familiar with most planes, but I think these are some kinds of rockets that I put on. And then here go on the 2 bombs that I decided to put on the plane. As you can see as well, you have the red and the red and green on the left, the small circles. The manual was pretty unclear about the fact that you needed to put some sort of aluminium or metallic paint underneath it, so I didn't do that. But to be honest, it doesn't matter much. It still looks nice. So once these are put on, the entire kit is done, and you'll have some final pictures coming up in the end of the video. These are also on my Instagram, where I try to post more often about projects being in the works and things I do in between. I try really hard. But here's the final plane. I hope you like it. Again, this video is a bit of a mess. A lot of things not filmed, a lot of things not filmed within the frame of the camera. But I'll try to improve on that in the next few projects. There are a few more I've already recorded, which are probably also not fully well done, but in the later stages I'll make sure to take more care of the filming process. So here's the final product. I hope you like it. Leave a comment what you think about it, and if you have some tips or tricks for me of whatever. Yeah, just let me know. Hope you liked it, and I hope to see you within. I hope you liked it, and I hope to see you in the next video.